Welcome in. Another good episode of the St0ner Sports Radio Podcast, episode number 2. Joining me, as per usual, is Cole Murphy from the Murphy household. Today we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. We'll be discussing how it ended, what happened, and give you all our insights on what went wrong with our picks. We'll go ahead and we'll give you the All-Star Weekend breakdown. It's here, Rising Stars Challenge tonight. And then we'll get into NFL news. Lamar Jackson, where is he going? Could he be going to Atlanta? And what that means for the Baltimore Ravens and the future of that team. Go through our locks of the week. And so much more here on the St0ner Sports Radio Podcast. Cole, how are you doing this afternoon?
We're doing good, man.
Doing good is what I want to hear from you, sir. So let's just hop right in this. Let's talk about this Super Bowl. Great game. Not a lot to really harp on as far as most of the game is concerned. Very entertaining, high scoring. Halftime was great. There wasn't really much for me to really complain about for about 58 minutes of this game out of the 60. What were your takeaways from this game and just kind of how it devolved? Obviously, as most of you know, Kansas City coming away with the 3-point win, 38-35. So tell me what your thoughts were.
Well, the Eagles had a good first half. I mean, they were up going into halftime, so I expected them to come out and at least close the job out, but they let Patrick Mahomes in a bad ankle slide back in and take the lead over and then seal the deal there at the end. So disappointing for the Eagles, even though they had such a great season. We should expect to see them back in the Super Bowl, I think, next year. But I mean, hats off to the Kansas City Chiefs. They got the job done regardless of everything. They still came out with the win, so good job for the Chiefs.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? So going into this, we said that number one thing that has to happen is Kansas City's offensive line has to play well. That was the top thing. Was Kansas City's offensive line would have to protect Patrick Mahomes due to the fact he would be limited in his mobility, and they did that. They did not a single sack the whole game. Yeah. So and that was one of our things we talked about was we thought this defensive line for the Eagles, since it led the league in sacks and was the top 3 in just sacks in general. For a season in NFL history, we thought, this was kind of going to spell trouble for Kansas City. So I guess you have to give it up to Creed Humphreys and those boys up front for really protecting Mahomes back there.
Most definitely. I think a little bit of the turf had to play a role in that. I did see a lot of slipping, but regardless, they still had 0 sacks the whole night. So it's very, very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. Let's get into the meat of this. So last 2 minutes, Kansas City's driving down the field. They're looking like they're going to at least get 3 points out of this drive. Philly uses all 3 of its timeouts that it has remaining to stop the clock. 1:38 to go, and it's 3rd and 8. Mahomes drops back and tries to throw a outpost to the bottom left pylon of the end zone, and flags fly as Philadelphia's Bradbury gets called for a hold, which is a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down, effectively ending this game as all they had to do was run it a couple times, get the clock down to about 12 seconds, and kick the field goal that ultimately ended up winning this game. Not that something couldn't have happened with 11 seconds to go, it just didn't seem very likely. What was your takeaway from that call late? Should it have happened? Should it not have happened? Kind of give me your opinion from someone who's played on the defensive side of the ball.
I get why they made the call because he did have the motion of the grabbing, so I can see why the ref pulled his flag. But when you're in a game like that and it's coming down to that drive and that situation, you got to let the guys play. So I would not have called that. I think it was a bad call, but I mean, I see you can't really put that one on the ref. I mean, it was a whole football game they did play, so I wouldn't have just put that all on the ref. But yeah, they should not have called that. was a bad call in my opinion.
Um, I mean, yeah, this was one of those things where the way the game had gone, right? The whole
Yeah.
entire way that this thing was shaped was literally due to the fact that early in the second quarter, um,
Hmm.
same player, same type of play, only this time the wide receiver falls down. Um,
Yeah.
you know that's that's rough. Um, we can we could let's go ahead and let's just take a look at this. I've got this pulled up here. I'm gonna put this
Okay.
in the screen here, um, just to give people kind of an idea of how this kind of went down because this was a very interesting call. I'm gonna slow it down here for you as well.
For sure.
I know I'm covering your face here, but that's okay. Well, people that
It's
are
okay. People usually don't like to see me anyway, so
listening to your voice is good enough. We can tell. So, um, I'm gonna
it's
go ahead
okay.
and
My tables that I serve don't like to see my face either.
yikes. So, anyways, I'm gonna just show this. So you can see right here, he's got the arm hooked. Um,
Yeah.
this is very clearly um a hold here. It's impeding his progress to the football. Now the football is very much overthrown, and you're gonna see
Mhm.
the the fact that he's not even touching him towards the end of this play. Mahomes immediately sees the hold.
Yeah.
Eagles knew it was kind of over at that point. Take another look at this from this angle, and once again you can just kind of see the jersey gets tugged from the front, uh,
Yeah.
left arm's hooking. But to be honest, that happens a lot of times within the first 5 yards of a route in an NFL football game, especially when times are getting down to the nitty gritty, and you don't see
Yeah.
it called. A lot of people were pointing at the Rams Saints game from last year where
Yeah.
the Saints got absolutely screwed on a PI call that wasn't called, that was obvious. But this is just so much different. It's I mean that call was egregiously not called. It was it was obviously PI. I mean the dude clocks the guy, like just blows him up before the ball even
Yeah.
gets there. I mean this was so much different. This seemed a little more ticky tacky to me. I mean
Hmm.
what was your opinion on that?
Whenever you're playing like man, like they were doing on that when Bradbury was covering them, it's just whenever you are trailing somebody and then you pull them because on the video you see he gets pulled kind of from the back of the jersey, and when a ref sees that, like obviously they're looking for stuff like that, so good they're gonna throw the flag, but just in the heat of the situation, with the ball clearly being overthrown, they shouldn't have called that flag on that play. That's all. But yeah, when you're playing man like that as a DB, you just can't grab. You got to kind of at least keep up with them or get in front of them because as soon as you start trailing a receiver and then pull on the back of the jersey, I mean, a ref's gonna call that. So I see why the ref called it. I just don't like the call in the situation of the game. I think they should have let it play, just because it was clearly overthrown and they would have had a Eagles would have had another shot. So it's just like it didn't. The call made no sense.
Yeah, I mean from an entertainment perspective for sure because if
Yeah,
the Eagles have the ball with a minute 30 to go here, I mean we've got ourselves,
having another game.
maybe. And the thing is
Yeah,
even if Hertz throws a pick or they turn it over on downs, at least you're not sitting there going, they didn't get a chance. Um,
yeah,
and people were also trying to point out, well, last year in the Cincinnati, LA game, I mean, there was the same type of call called against Cincinnati. I said, yeah, but Cincinnati still had a chance on that 4th and 3
hmm,
to pick it up and continue driving to try to tie that football game. And what happened?
right.
Pressure got to Burrow because at the time his offensive line was Garbo, and he was
Yeah,
forced to throw a terrible pass to Mixon, and it didn't even get there; it just kind of skipped to him, and there was no shot to even pick up that 4th and 3. But at least you had that opportunity to point back to and go,
mhm,
look. I mean, at least they had a chance to drive the football down. They didn't get it, but Jalen
yeah,
Hurts didn't get that chance. And I get it. No one's deserving of that chance. It was the right call. The refs didn't owe the viewers or Jalen or the Eagles anything. I get that. I get that. I honestly get
mhm,
that perspective. It's the right perspective to have. Um, but from the outside looking in, from just a fan's perspective, that game was so good, and now it
Yeah,
looks like that call kind of decides the outcome of this game. Now, you
yeah.
could have said the same thing about the call against Cincinnati and Kansas City the week prior, or 2 weeks prior, I
Mhm.
should say, where the linebacker pushes Mahomes when he's got 2 feet out of bounds and you add 15 yards and a first down, and,
Yeah,
and that ended Cincinnati's chances. I get that, but that one was obvious too. And the
yeah.
thing is that one was more obvious and less ticky tacky than this one because you're protecting, Mahomes. He's obviously out of
Mhm.
bounds. It's a dumb bonehead play, but that one
Yeah,
deserved to be called more than this one, in my opinion. I felt like if you're going to
definitely.
have a guy drag a dude to the ground and not call it, why make the makeup call there? That just, I mean, it doesn't really
Mhm.
make sense to me. I get the refs are doing their job. I get that that's the correct call. But just overall, throughout the stats, throughout the way this game was played, I can honestly say the better team did not win this game.
Yeah. I
I
got
mean,
good news though. The Eagles will be back next year for sure.
yeah, I mean that's a big thing. They've got some contract stuff coming through where they're trying to re-sign a bunch of the guys I had on this team to try to make that second run, and they've got a good chance to do so. They've got some aging players that might debate whether or not they can still perform up to the level necessary to get there. They could obviously pick up some guys in the draft. They've got a late first round pick. You could probably pick up a good defensive lineman or a good safety or
Mhm.
wide receiver to replace some of these guys that might be moving on for more money than the Eagles would be
Right.
willing to offer. Um, but I think you're right. I think this team has a great shot of returning to at least the NFC Championship game to give themselves a chance to get back there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, people are going to be hyping up Dallas, all off season. I mean, that happens every year. It
Mhm.
seems like for the last 15 years. Um, we'll see. We'll kind of see where that goes, considering they're going to have a new OC in Dallas. You got to watch out for the Chargers with Kellen Moore going over there. I mean, that
True.
gives Justin Herbert a really good chance for that offense to, have a kind of enlightenment and maybe a little bit more of a chance to get out of that tough NFC West.
True.
The 49ers will obviously probably be a threat again, especially with
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo probably being healthy. And if not him, at least Trey Lance will be healthy. What does
Yeah.
that mean for Brock Purdy? Who knows? There's a lot of things in this
Back up.
offseason that this game kind of dictates for a lot of teams. For Kansas City, though, what I mean, being in the AFC, what do you give them the odds of getting back to where they were, as far as not maybe Super Bowl champions, but being in the Super Bowl?
I think we're looking at another rematch. This might be a way too early prediction, but I could definitely see another rematch of that AFC and NFC with you'll have the Bengals versus the Chiefs and you'll have the Eagles 49ers. I could definitely see that being another rematch again for this upcoming year.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that, and obviously, you have to throw the Bills in there. I mean, even though they
Yeah,
seem to underperform in the playoffs, they
true.
they will still probably run away with that division up there. Now that the Patriots are blah, Miami's kind of I mean, it's
Mhm.
the Jets are I mean, it seems like now that the torch has been passed from the Patriots to the Bills. Like you're going to represent the AFC East. That's going to be your role now because I don't see the Patriots being really relevant as much as I am a fan of the Patriots, which I am. I think
Yeah,
our time kind of passed 2 years ago,
yeah,
and I feel like now is our time to kind of try to rebuild. I like Mac Jones.
definitely rebuild.
I don't hate Mac
I
Jones.
don't. I
Um,
don't.
you don't like him?
I'm also a pretty big Patriots fan myself, just mainly with that whole not just because of that team, but with the Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Tom Brady, of course, Chris Hogan, like all those guys, Rob Gronkowski. That's when I like them, but I mean, I'm still a Patriots fan. I like the team. So yeah, I think yeah, I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones. I think we need a new quarterback. I think our defense looks okay, but we need more weapons, like a lot more. Stevenson's good, but we need more receivers. We just had a bunch, but I don't know. I don't think we have enough now. So definitely rebuild for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it helps that you have, um, uh, oh gosh, what's his face? Matt Patricia calling offensive
Mhm.
plays when he's a defensive coach.
Yeah,
I think that had a
yeah,
lot to do with the offensive success, and I think it had a lot to do with more running plays than what I would prefer, which is more passing plays for Mac Jones because he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
They just preferred to be a run first, run to open up the pass type team, and I really think that kind of bit them in the ass. And there were rumors, and I don't know if you've heard this, but of players coming to Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick and going, so when are we going to get new plays for the playbook? Because this playbook is really small. And Bill Belichick looked him in the eyes and
I
goes,
didn't hear
"Oh, we
that.
don't have any more plays. These are the plays." And so they had probably about 3 weeks worth of plays, and they would just keep
Damn.
recycling them. They never changed the looks, never changed anything. And I think that is also the price you pay for hiring a defensive head coach to be your offensive coordinator.
I didn't hear that, but that's tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
they need more
yeah.
plays.
And so you're literally setting yourself up for teams to know, oh, if they come out in this formation, this is what they're going to run. I mean, watching film at
Yeah,
that point is cake because everything has been recycled. There's nothing
yeah,
new, and there was nothing new. And I don't think that is a reflection on Mac Jones. I do not think that is a reflection on the offensive, skill players or anything. I think that
mm,
is a reflection of coaching, which I think it was a failure from the New England Patriots organization to let Matt Patricia be the OC and the play caller when
true.
he is a defense first kind of guy. So I mean,
Yeah,
I know that's kind of off topic, but I mean, I think that just kind of further reinforces our fact that the Bills are probably going to be competitive again and probably lead
yeah,
the AFC
definitely.
East and be the favorite to represent that division as they move forward throughout the
They
next
will.
couple years, probably. So, like you said, I think I see the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs kind of buying it out for that AFC title. And like you said, 49ers, Eagles, and you can even throw Dallas in there. I don't mind throwing Dallas in
Alex,
there.
yeah.
I think that they're also a team you should probably look out for. Um, as far as possibly getting to the NFC Championship game. Um, but yeah, I think that this Super Bowl was a great game to watch if you're into points, if you're into offensive scoring and really close games. But I think we both agree that, I mean, as much as that is the
Hey, I
correct.
projected the score. Do you remember last episode? I projected the score like kind of right. I said upper 20s, lower 30s. So I was right.
Yep, yeah, you were right. It was mid 30s. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, it was a little bit more. I mean, take the over. The over was like the over under was like 52 or something like that. If you pick the over,
yeah.
you hit it big time.
Hey, did we get any of those picks right from the those that the coin
So,
toss
so yes,
and
so we're gonna go over that right now. Actually, we're gonna
okay,
transition
perfect,
right into
perfect,
that. So let's take a visit
lovely.
to the Stoner Sportsbook and take a look at how it all shook out last week. Starting out with the Philadelphia spread, we had -1.5 in favor of the Eagles. We both lost that. We had all our money on the Eagles and lost all of our
Damn,
money. But thank God for that free $100 we throw in there every week because that's what kept us afloat.
need that.
Mr. Murphy, you selected coin toss being tails at -101. It did hit. I picked heads. I went ahead. So you got the tails call right. The score within the first 6 minutes, we both picked that. We both got that right. The Eagles scored with just
Yeah, I
over
figured.
12
Yeah,
minutes to go in the
yeah.
first quarter. Team that scores last wins. We both got that right as well, with the field
Hmm.
goal from Kansas City being the deciding factor. And they were the last team with the,
I
yeah,
knew
and they
it.
were the last team to score, and they did win. So that one was right as well. And under 1.5 interceptions. I thought there was going to be some turnovers in this game, and there were. There was a fumble return for a touchdown, the only mistake of the game by Jalen Hurts, and probably cost them the
Yeah,
game, to be brutally honest. Um,
honestly,
but at the time, it only tied the game, so it really made it 0-0 again. So, can't really, lean heavily on that, but it was a deciding factor in the end, ultimately. But that did not
big
hit.
turnover.
You picked the under, so that hits. You go 4-1, with your only mistake being
Let's
picking the
go.
Eagles, and I went 2-3 as I missed out on heads and the over on the interceptions, but I did get the scoring under within 6 minutes, and the last team to score wins as my two wins. Um, that puts us right now. You are officially over 500, Mr. Murphy, at 46-45 on your picks this season, dating all the way back to week one of the college football season. And I finish
I did it.
13 games over 500 at 52-39. So,
That
if
was
you
a lot better.
if you stuck with us through all of the, college and pro football season, you're winning money. With Cole, you're maybe winning $12. With me, you're probably sitting there with a couple hundos in your pocket. But it was a wild ride. I did hit one parlay this season. Cole became close twice this season with
Yeah.
losing just one twice. So I mean, it is hard to do, especially when you're just getting
Mhm.
into it like Cole Murphy is, and this is, I've done it off the record, but never on the record. So this is kind of, one of those eye openers where we can get better. We'll learn from our mistakes,
Yeah,
and we'll
definitely
get
get
better
better for sure.
as this college football season is 200 days away from kickoff. Um, but yeah, that's the Stoner Sportsbook recap. Other big stuff going on, NBA stuff, right? NBA All Star Weekend is upon us. We've got tons of stuff to talk about with that. Rising Stars Challenge tonight
Hmm.
between uh, uh, team Team Giannis and Team LeBron. They'll be your captains for the All Star
LeBron.
game. For the Rising Stars, you have two different games. We're not really going to cover that as much. Um, but let's go ahead and just kind of talk about the dunk contest and the 3-point contest, right? So, um, when we talk about
Okay.
the dunk contest, it's been one of those things where over the years, as far as we've been growing up, less and less big names decide that they want to do this dunk contest. And for me personally, that kind
Yeah.
of bothers me, right? Because I mean, if you grew up in the early '90s, if you were our age in 1994, and you had been
Hmm.
watching basketball for 15 years, you've seen the greats go at it at All Star Weekend. Vince Carter, Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
Spud Webb, Dominique Wilkins. I mean, all these
Yeah.
huge names deciding to entertain the masses by showing off their display of physical prowess. And now you have like
Yeah.
nobody, right? Like, so what was the biggest name I think we've watched do the dunk contest probably in our lifetime was probably Vince Carter. And I'm
Yeah.
probably not even old enough to really comprehend at the time how important it was, right? Like, I don't think I ever
Hmm.
started really paying attention to the All Star Weekend until like probably the late 2010s, because I just it wasn't something that you know in February during the All-Star break, I got you got school, you got other stuff going on. It just wasn't
Right.
top of my list of like must watch television, and now I kind of regret not being into it as much, because it's like
Hmm.
now, like, who the fuck are these guys walking onto the court that aren't even
Yeah.
starting for teams that are trying to do these crazy dunks? And a lot of this is put on, players don't want to get hurt. Like, what if I tear an ACL jumping over a car? I mean, so
Yeah.
in my personal opinion, the biggest name I've ever seen do the dunk contest is probably Blake Griffin. I think that
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest one that I've been sitting here going, yeah, he's a starter. He jumped over a fucking car. I mean, it was everything you could have kind of wanted, and it was from a star. He's not a superstar, but at the time a star, and obviously now he's a role player coming off the bench because he's like ancient as fuck. But I mean, like, when I say ancient as fuck, he's 2 years older than us, so
Yeah.
he's 31, 32, 30. So he's not, he's in his past his prime, especially for the type of player that he was coming out of college, and not a
Yeah.
jump shooter and a very attack the rim first kind of guy. um
Yeah.
so I think that that's definitely probably the biggest name. I mean, you could throw Aaron Gordon out there, you can throw you know
Was
uh
LeBron never in one?
Zach Levine. No, LeBron has never been in one.
Oh
He's
wow.
openly stated several years. He says, I'm never going to do the dunk contest. The dunks you see in the game are the dunk contest. So when he plays
Whoa.
games and he dunks, those are the dunks he considers
That's
to
what we're
be
looking out for.
your treat. That's your treat. I mean, you'll never see me dunk in any other atmosphere other than a game. And it's why a lot of people still put LeBron as number 2 on their all-time list, because it's like, at least
Hmm.
Michael Jordan fucking did it. I mean, at least he,
Yeah.
gave the people what he wanted, and I think that LeBron would still crush the dunk contest if he was in it. I
Hmm.
think there's so much power behind his dunks. There's so much, he just makes it look effortless, and
Yeah.
I've always held that against him as something that I just can't forgive him for, because I just feel
Hmm.
like you're just depriving us of this, these moments in history where
Right.
you can just point to one guy and be like, "That's the fucking dude right there." I mean, he's the
I think
best
my
player.
favorite
Yeah, go
one.
ahead.
I think my favorite one was it was a few years back. It had Aaron Gordon,
Zach
Zach
Levine.
Levine.
Yep.
That was one of my favorite years. That's the last one I can actually recall of. But yeah, that's some big names, and that was a really fun dunk contest. It was going back and forth for a while, but yeah, this year I know of the names, but yeah, like I don't think anybody really stepped out this year to go do the dunk contest. So that's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, and that one is a lot of even older people say that's probably one of the best dunk contests that they've watched. But at
Oh,
the
that one
time,
with
Zach
yeah,
Levine and Aaron Gordon,
yeah,
I mean, but you look at those guys now, and they're still not superstars. Like they're not, they're
Yeah.
not Michael Jordan. They're not Blake
Mhm.
Griffin. I mean, they're good.
Right.
They're good role players that can give you 16. I mean, Zach LaVine's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's developed into a great player for the Bulls,
He's
and
great.
he's their guy. Aaron Gordon kind of is one of those role players that can give you 16 to 20 off the bench, and he's a very
Yeah.
still an attack the basket kind of guy. Um, but again, I mean, this is, I mean, yes, that dunk contest was great, but at the time, like Zach Levine was not somebody I knew. Aaron Gordon, I only
Mhm.
knew because of his college days, and I knew that
Yeah.
he could jump out of the gym,
Mhm.
and so that made it exciting. I did watch that one as well. You had the double basketball goals raising up, and Zach Levine did both. And you had,
Yeah.
Gordon doing the underneath both legs over the mascot,
Right.
And I do believe Aaron Gordon got robbed in that dunk contest, by the way.
He
I,
did.
I
I
do
thought Aaron
believe that
Gordon should have
he,
won.
yeah, I think he's probably, I think he even did probably a better job than Blake Griffin did overall. But I mean, it's just disappointing to not see any of these big names
Mhm.
go out here and try to put on a show. I mean, you had so many guys that did in the early 2000s go out there and really entertain the masses. And I think as the NBA has become more popular with 2K and kids playing that and watching more games, I think that these players really have taken a step back to go, well, I don't have time to tear an ACL going up to do a windmill
Yeah.
360 with nobody around. And I get that. I mean, I totally understand that point of view, but I
Yeah.
feel like again, we're just kind of getting robbed from that. So in that respect, let's go ahead and give our picks for the dunk contest. Starting off at best odds to win it is Matt McClung. Mac McClung, the
Is
Texas
he
Tech,
really?
is the favorite at plus 150 to win the dunk contest
Okay.
this weekend. Um, Coming in second is Jericho Sims at plus 300. And coming in at fourth is Kenyon Martin Jr. at plus 300 as well. They're tied for second. And then coming in last is Trey Murphy, the third, at plus 380. So go ahead, Mr. Murphy, and give me your pick for the dunk contest and tell me why.
Not just because he's the favorite, but because I think he's gonna put on a little show. He's pretty crafty, and I think he's gonna excite people because of his stature. Is He's not really someone you look at and you're like, oh, he's gonna do a crazy dunk. But I think he will win because of his size, and I think because he's so explosive, you're gonna see a lot of crazy dunks. So give me Mac McClung. Not, I was gonna pick him, but I'm surprised that he's the favorite to win.
Yeah, I think that says a lot. Well, I'm going to go with an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to go with Kenyon Martin Jr. Um, I just I like his dad. I like the pedigree. And as much as I love Mac McClung, I just if you're gonna risk it for the biscuit and bet some biscuits on this, why not go
Mhm.
for somebody who's tied with Jericho Sims to be second and also has that pedigree? I think when you're talking about judges that are former players, I think a name can kind of give you those extra 2 or 3 points sometimes because that's Kenyon Martin's kid, and not that Matt McClung probably, like you said, he's probably going to come out
Yeah,
with the creative stuff. What concerns me is what if he misses, a couple dunks? What if he tries to go up to something
that's
nuts
true.
and just
That's
back rims
true.
that shit twice? I mean, we've seen it happen. We've seen
I could
first
see it
round dunks
happening. Yeah,
where players have had to go with just a one hand flush as time expiring because they're trying to do something crazy and they miss twice. And then even if they get it the third time, your score is still affected because you just didn't get it the first time. So
yeah,
it just doesn't. The shock value is gone. It's kind of gone out of you. Kind of take the air out of the building, and that's going to be a thing. I think
true.
Matt McClung might get a little too crafty and back rim a couple of these, and we might be talking about what if with Mac McClung. But I don't hate your pick there. I'm just going with Kenny Martin Jr. because it's a crapshoot, and I really don't care. I'll watch it. Probably watch the highlights. Probably won't even watch it live.
Yeah.
I just none of this really entices me anymore. The NBA's really the players have really sucked the fun out of this as far as
Mhm.
most of this stuff goes. And I mean, go Kenyon Martin Jr., but I could really give a fuck.
Yeah, it's same with the, this is a little off topic real fast. The, I don't even watch the Pro Bowl anymore for the NFL because they don't it's flag football now. They don't do,
Mm-hmm.
and even though it's after the season, they still do flag because 'cause they're like, "We don't want any extra injuries to happen before the offseason." I'm like, "That's such a joke." Like you were saying earlier with growing up, like, you watch the Pro Bowl and the, dunk contest, all that to see the best guys going at it. You want to see the best of the best playing and doing it. So it's tough to see what sports have turned into nowadays with people not trying to get injured and being safe and cautious. It's like it's a joke to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get player safety. I get that, but like you said, like when I watched the Pro Bowl growing up, if you ran across the middle, I'm ready for Junior Seau to knock your block off, and I want your helmet to fly
Man,
off. I
or
mean,
fucking Trey Palomalo to come through and knock your head
yeah,
off,
I
and
mean, I mean,
fucking
I mean,
Ed
these
Reed.
guys, yeah, these guys didn't. I mean, and they still weren't, like even back then, I knew that they were, missing tackles on purpose and stuff because it's just for fun. It was not
Mhm.
ever really competitive. A lot of people think that the only way to really get the competition back is to do what the MLB does, which is the winner of the All Star game. That team will host the World Series,
Mm.
as far as being the home team or being the away team when the World Series starts. And that way, like the players will compete because if my team makes it to the World Series, I want to have home field
Right. I
advantage.
like that. They should
Um,
do that. I
I
like
mean,
that.
and yeah, I think they should do something similar where if the East or the West wins, the NBA All Star game, uh maybe that affects first round games. I don't know. They got to figure out something because they're
Something.
losing viewership and they're losing people like us, and younger
Hmm.
kids don't give a fuck because they've grown up with nobody playing it in the first place. I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of, I mean, now the All-Star game, they the players play, but now they've got this weird captain system where they can pick
Oh yeah, I'm not
players from
watching the All Star
from
game. Is gonna
yeah,
be
it's
stupid.
it's just weird to me. Like I just, what happened to just voting for players? Whoever gets in gets in. Those are your teammates. Suck a dick. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
understand. I mean, it just now it's Team Giannis and Team LeBron. Like, what happened to East West? Like, what happened to this? Like, I mean, it's so
Yeah.
bastardized now. I could just give a fuck. So I mean, it's just
Team LeBron and Team KD, and they get to pick their players. Or Team Giannis and Team
LeBron.
LeBron, and
Yeah,
they get to pick their players. I don't like that at all.
yeah, and but anyways, let's get into that, I guess. So Team LeBron, Team Giannis. The spread on this is Team Giannis +3. So Team LeBron is favored to win by 3. The over under in this is 325 and a half points, which means they think that this is going to go bananas with at
Yeah.
least 160 points per team. Um, I so let's just do the over under on this because I think that's probably the safest bet here.
Yeah.
So do you think over or under 325 combined points here, Cole?
What is that? 325.
Yeah, so it's at least 160 per side.
Oh, under. I don't think they're
Okay,
scoring that much.
under
I could see like
300.
one. Yeah, I could see like yeah. There's no. I could see like 140, 150 to like 130 or one.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't.
well, let's
No.
see what was last year's score just to give you All-Star game.
Yeah, I don't think they ever get up to 160, 70.
Was last year's stuff here. I don't know why they don't just have the fucking score. Come on. Go to Wikipedia. I don't know why ESPN doesn't have this. Kind of sad. Final score last year. Well, you might be surprised. Last year, 160 to 163. So
Okay,
that
so
was that
yeah.
was last year. So that'd be 320, 320. So they got close last year with 160
I'll say
apiece.
I'll say under still.
Yeah, I kind of have to go with you too with this. I think um under the
I never liked these games because they try for a little bit and then I don't like like there's too much passing, there's too much going on. I'm not gonna be tuned in here, but uh I want the wet obviously Team LeBron to win. Uh but yeah, that's just it's so stupid. They never they take it serious, but like only at the end, and then it's just a bunch of fucking around and passing, and like it's not really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I like the alley oops and stuff. I think that stuff is fun. The open
Yeah.
floor steals are fun because you get the dunks
They
at
don't
the
play
end.
defense. They don't play defense.
Yeah, but I wouldn't either though. Like the Pro Bowl, they never played
Yeah.
defense either. I mean, because that's the physical part, right? You start playing defense and it's not fun. It's like, oh, everybody's gonna score, 30
Yeah.
points and they're just trying, dribbling with your knees and shit. I mean, you could just
I
turn it
just
into an
wish
and
I
one
just wish
mixtape.
yeah. I wish they did everything like how they used to, that's all.
Yeah, it
Like
was yeah.
how they used to play the All-Star game, like, it used to be really, really competitive, like, when they used to get actually picked, and then the dunk contest used to always be big names, you used to always see big names for the dunk contest. The Pro Bowl was always a good little game, they always used to actually hit and play, like, it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, and the Pro Bowl was fun to watch because it was a week before the Super Bowl, so you had at least football on that you could actually tune into. Even though
Yeah.
defense wasn't really being played, like you said, it was still more competitive than a flag football game, where you
Yeah.
could probably still tear an ACL trying to cut the wrong way. I mean, it's not like people can't get hurt
Yeah.
in a flag football game, but probably, as you said, less likely. But I mean, like what I would have liked was the one thing I did like this Pro Bowl was the dodgeball. I thought the dodgeball was fun to watch.
I didn't even
I,
see
I
that.
I just thought they were too short of matches. So what they did for the dodgeball was they divided it within East and West, but they divided it into offensive and defensive players after that too. So you had the
Yeah.
offensive skill players and offensive linemen from the NFC against the offensive players from the AFC, and then you had the
Okay.
defenses go against each other. Then you had the winners of those two games play each other. So
I did not see that,
so
but I'm gonna have to look that up
it
later.
was fun, but it lasted like 30 minutes. Like it was not
Um,
it was not for me. I would have liked to have had them both the defense and offense been on the dodgeball court at the same time. And I would have
yeah.
liked it to be like best of five. I feel
Mhm.
like that would have been cool. And they didn't have the rule where if you caught the ball, the player would come back into the game. So I thought that was kind of lame too. Because I'm
Mhm.
like, you've got some of the best catchers in the league, and even if they catch the ball, yeah, sure the other guy's out, but they can't bring another teammate in. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
I just kind of thought that it would be, more entertaining. I think they should kind of expand on that. I didn't hate that part of it. That's the only thing I did watch of the Pro Bowl, and I watched it on YouTube, the highlights afterwards. So I didn't even probably watch the full thing, which I did, but I mean, I didn't think I was because it was so short, but that was the full entire thing. It was like 30 minutes, and I watched
The
all.
only thing I saw was Diggs' little brother pick off Stefan. Did you see that? Yeah, that was the only thing I saw of it, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're playing flag football. Like, congrats.
Yeah, it was mid. Um, let's get into this 3-point contest, right? So 3-point
Yeah,
contest. This actually has some
this is a
names.
little actually exciting. That's
Yeah, this
exciting.
this has some names, and I think that this is kind of players are more likely to do this because there's no contact involved. So it's like I'm just
Yeah,
out there doing practice stuff I normally do anyways. So the odds
right.
of me getting hurt very slim. Could happen. You could fall and tear an ACL. Going up for a shot. We've seen a guy snap his leg in half. If you want to go back to Kevin Ware in March Madness of about 4 years ago when he snapped
Oh,
his fucking leg in half. Um,
that
yeah,
was so bad.
that
That made me sick.
Louisville Michigan game will make you throw up. But I don't think any of that's gonna happen. Very rarely does it. Right now, the list goes: Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Kevin Herter, Laurie Markkinen, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyler Hero, and Julius Randle. In this, you have three Western Conference guys, and you've got five Eastern Conference guys. So, um, kind of sprinkled throughout. Right now, Buddy Hield is the favorite at plus 425 to get the win. Julius Randle is the least likely to win at plus 950. And a couple guys are tied at 550 and 650. And Damian Lillard is second at plus 470. And Tyler Hero is second to last at plus 800. Look, if you're going for value here, Cole, Tyler Hero is kind of good at shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
At plus 800, I would kind of pick him over Laurie Markkinen or even Jason Tatum. To be honest, Tatum not really much of a 3-point shooter in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a big name here that wins it. I think it's gonna be one of those guys that we don't really have, not like an all-star type guy. I don't think it's gonna be Lillard. I don't think it's gonna be Tatum. It's tough. I don't want to go with Buddy Hield either, but I think that's who I'm gonna go with. I don't know. I think it's gonna be either him or was that guy from the Jazz or
Laurie Markkinen.
yeah. I think it's gonna be him or yeah, Laurie or Buddy. I got one of those two, but I'm gonna go with Buddy
Okay,
winning this.
Buddy at 425. All right, got it. Um, so that's I mean this should be fun, right? Buddy Hield just passed Reggie Miller for most 3-pointers made in a single season, with
Hmm.
230. That was just 2 days ago. Um, skill competition. Um, not really much to get into as far as skill competition goes. Uh,
Who's in that?
Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Colin Sexton um, are uh, are the uh, contestants, I believe. Um,
Only those three guys?
uh, it says 3 teams square off in the skills competition, with the hometown team Jazz comprised. Okay, so they're doing teams. So they're doing teams of 3. So the Jazz get to select 3 guys to go because they're Salt Lake is hosting the All Star game, so they picked Jordan
Mm.
Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Colin Sexton to go and do it. And that team is favored at -125. It's like a combined score, I guess, of those 3 players.
Mm.
The All Rookie team is made up of Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith, and they're given the second best odds at +145. And then rounding out the field is Team Antetokounmpo, which is just the Antetokounmpo brothers. Yeah, you have Giannis and Thanasis and Alex Antetokounmpo.
They're all in the league?
Yeah, Alex is in the G League with the Wisconsin
Okay.
Herd. Last year they lost to Team Cleveland, which Cleveland was hosting it last year. So they have the last odds to win at +475 because those are some big tall frames trying to handle the
Mhm.
basketball. So what do you think here? I mean,
Jeez.
as far as skill competition goes, I didn't put this down as one to bet on, but if you were, I mean, are you picking the home team Jazz? I think I'd pick the rookie team, to be honest. I think Jaden Ivey and Banchero and Jabari
That's
Smith
yeah,
probably, if you're trying to get more bang for your buck at +145, I think they're probably
yeah.
the favorite in my eyes. I don't.
That's who I was leaning towards, the rookie team. I think, yeah, as far as I think they're gonna wanna get some hardware, so I think I could see them winning that for sure and taking it really serious and getting everything in there under the time that everybody else makes it in, so give me the rookie team.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think we're both going rookie team here.
Yeah.
I think that's probably your best odds. Cleveland's team last year was pretty good, and I think that's why I think they won it last year's All Star game. I think that was kind of why they had really good players. They had Colin Sexton on that team as well, so Colin Sexton gets traded
Yeah.
to Utah and once again gets thrown into the skills competition.
I'm dead.
um, so I thought
That's
that
funny.
was pretty humorous.
He is good though.
But that kind of that kind of wraps up our All Star weekend kind of talk. Not much to really look at. But let's see where the betting odds are right now for teams favorited to win the NBA Finals. Because we're halfway through the season now, so we can kind of take a look at where we stand. Before the season
Mhm.
started, Cole picked Golden State and Boston to be back in the finals together. Right now, the Golden State Warriors are +1700 to win it all, and the Boston Celtics right now are looking like they are the favorite right now at +275. So
Yeah.
not too bad. But as far as the Warriors are concerned, they've got 8 other teams in front of them right now. Um, that includes Dallas, Memphis, Philadelphia, the Clippers, Nuggets, Bucks, and Suns. Of course, the Bucks coming from the East, so that would really kind of negate them. Same with the Sixers. But in the
Mhm.
West, you're talking about Phoenix, Denver, the Clippers, Dallas, and Memphis are ahead of the Warriors in betting odds right now. I picked the Nuggets to be playing the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets pick is kind of fallen into the trash after the picks. They're +15,000 to get to the
Nice.
finals now without Irving, KD, or James Harden. But my Nuggets are in that 4th spot at +800 and are the second favorite out of the West to get to the NBA Finals behind the Phoenix Suns. Which obviously the Phoenix Suns have skyrocketed after acquiring Kevin Durant.
Mhm.
The Clippers at +900, that could go up if they acquire Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
That people think that he could be a really good asset for them. Obviously, Milwaukee's still up there. They're a viable option to be probably playing the Celtics in that Eastern Conference Finals. And if not them, obviously Philadelphia has a chance to kind of weasel their way in to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, how are you feeling about the Golden State Warriors? Because to me, plus 1700 right now, it seems like a good time to put your money in. Because right now, what Vegas is saying, Cole, is that the Mavericks have a better chance and the Grizzlies have a better chance than the Warriors right now to win the finals. Is that something that you see yourself agreeing with, or do you think right now that you should, if you are a fan of the Warriors, still hang on to hopes that you could be hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the year?
I think people are forgetting about the Warriors and how good of a playoff team they are. Even though they're kind of coasting through right now and they're not really at the top and they're kind of just floating around, come playoff time, all those guys lock in, all those guys come together and they really play good basketball. So I don't know, it's going to be tough. They're definitely going to be in that championship game, but I'm excited to see against who because they could lose. But I definitely got the Celtics going on the other side for sure. But, as far as the West goes, I like the Grizzlies, but I don't know who it's gonna come down to. I don't think it's gonna be Dallas, I don't think it's gonna be Phoenix, so I think Denver, the Grizzlies, Warriors, who else is a pretty top name up there in the
And the
West?
Clippers are in here.
Clippers.
The Lakers are now plus 4,000.
I
People
don't think the
think
Lakers are going.
after the trades and after the way they played with
Yeah.
Hachimura and D'Angelo Russell, they feel like the
Mhm.
Lakers are a new team now for some reason because they blew out a really bad team last week. I don't know about the Lakers. I think that they're still a playoff team. I know they're 13th in the West right now, but they're probably still going to get to the play-in game and might whistle their way into, uh, the semifinals in the West. But I don't really have any faith in LeBron to do anything this season.
No.
I don't hate your Memphis pick. Because like you said, right now Vegas thinks it's Phoenix, Denver, Clippers, Mavs, Grizzlies, Warriors. I don't know about the Mavericks. I think people are kind of putting a little bit too much faith in the Kyrie Luka Doncic experience here. Um,
Yeah.
we haven't
I think they're
seen
too early.
Yeah, we haven't seen two ball dominant players like that really work out in a way where you could win a lot of games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you always have that discussion at the end of the game who takes the last shot. I think
Mhm.
it should be Luca because I think he's more clutch than Kyrie. But then again,
Yeah.
Kyrie hit that three in the finals to give Cleveland that win over the Warriors a
True.
couple years back, and he's still a great scorer. So I think that you're
Yeah.
still going to see that kind of struggle with this team of who they want the hands to be, possessing the ball at the end of the game. And I think that could be their problem come playoff time. Plus the defense. I mean, neither of those guys play defense. Kyrie doesn't play defense. Luca doesn't play defense. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that you're kind of looking at. I don't think they should be higher than the Warriors. Let's put it that way. I think the Warriors should have a
Mhm.
better chance than the Mavericks to get to. And this is to win it all. This is not just to get to the finals.
Yeah.
This is to win it all. So I mean, put that in perspective as well with these numbers because that's kind of what we're looking at right here. Your Celtics pick is looking really good, and especially now that
Mhm.
Brooklyn's kind of out of the picture, I can honestly say I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie and company is going to get me a chip. Unfortunately, I don't see that. I don't see that happening. So I've got to kind of so right here I'm going to make my statement of getting off the Brooklyn wagon. I think I deserve that out because I didn't see any of this happening. And out of the East, I think I'm gonna probably go with you. I think I'm gonna pick the Celtics to come out of the East. I think I really like the way
Yeah.
they're comprised. It, you know what? Forget it. I'm picking Milwaukee. I think
Ah.
and here's why. Here's why. Um, I think that last year in the finals, we kind of saw this Celtics team get a little bit exposed, right? You had games where
Mhm.
Jason Tatum didn't show up. You had games where Jalen Brown
Mhm.
didn't show up, and you had games where the team as a whole couldn't hit a three to save their life.
Hey,
Think,
game 1, they look really good,
yeah,
though.
game one they looked really good, and I thought maybe Boston. I remember you talking. You say they're gonna sweep them. They're gonna sweep them.
Yeah.
You're like, there's no way because they are just too good. And what happened next? We ended up eating crow on that one. We were sitting there on
Hey,
Top Golf watching Game
that,
7, going, I think this one is all Golden State. They were up by like 20 something in the fourth, and I was like, well, maybe
yeah.
they got a chance. You're like, they don't have a chance. Will you need to keep drinking your Coors Light and shut up.
That guy in Dish still owes me money for that. He quit, or no, not the Dish guy, the busser guy. You remember that light skinned guy that was a
um,
busser?
oh God,
He was kind of older. Like he was like probably like
oh Trey,
not. Was it Trey? He was
Trey,
he was like he was
yeah,
bald almost.
yeah, Trey, yeah,
Trey, yeah.
Trey.
We bet on that game, and he picked the Celtics. I picked the Warriors. I think we put 40 on it, but I don't think I'm seeing a dollar anytime soon.
Yeah. I don't think you are either. Um, but yeah, I mean that was, I think that Milwaukee right now, the way they're comprised, I think they've got a good roster, and I think if you're looking for a value pick out of the East, at plus 600, I
Yeah,
think Milwaukee is the way to go. They're the second favorite. It'll probably come down to them playing Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals again. I just don't believe in
yeah.
James Harden and Joel Embiid enough to get past either of those teams. Um, they've got a
They're gonna be
decent
good.
team,
Yeah,
but
that's gonna be a good comp or semi. It'll be I got uh what's it called? Milwaukee will probably play. What do you think?
so right now,
Will they play?
if
Will they play
if
Philly?
if you were to do it right now, um, the way that this is comprised here, um, in the Eastern Conference right now, see, Boston would come out playing.
Miami.
It'd be the Knicks right now. It'd be
Oh, the
the
Knicks.
Knicks are in the
Oh,
eighth spot right now. So it'd be Boston playing the Knicks. You would have the Bucks playing the Nets, because the Nets haven't fallen off yet because they still have that good record from having KD and stuff. They've only played 3 or 4 games without him. They still have a
yeah.
decent record right now. Don't know how that's going to end up, but right now that's what it would be. You would have Philadelphia playing the Heat, which I feel
Mm.
like the Heat could come away and win that
Ooh,
because they did last year,
ooh,
with Jimmy Butler and those boys, and then they got
ooh.
roasted by the Celtics. But I mean that was kind of expected. And you would have uh, what did I say? They
You had 1-8, and you had
uh, Cleveland would play the Hawks. I think would be the last. Yeah. So I mean,
interesting.
and that's right now. Obviously, waiting in the wings are the Raptors, Wizards, Bulls, and Pacers. Those are they're still kind of vying out for who would do that. But I think you would probably be seeing a second round matchup between um, Philadelphia and Milwaukee. I think that's what you would get. I don't know if it'd be Philadelphia or Milwaukee or Philadelphia and Boston. Just kind of depends on how that bracket looks. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
Um,
I think shit out.
but yeah, I
Give
think
me, give me Milwaukee, Boston. Give me Grizzlies, Warriors for the conference.
okay.
Yeah,
So you said West. You want Memphis and Golden State,
yeah. I think that's what it's gonna come
and
down to in
then
the
the
West.
East you have
I don't
Milwaukee.
know though. Denver though. Fuck. I could see Denver losing just like game 7, real bad, like real close. They're gonna be playing like Golden State. It's gonna be tough. Yeah, those are my four. Give me those four.
Okay, so I got you at that. Mine are still the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets will probably be facing. Um, I think it'll be Golden State as well. I think it'll be Nuggets and
Hmm.
Golden State. Then in the East, I just agree with you. I think it's probably Milwaukee and Boston.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think there's much disagreement on the East. The West, I think it's just going to be so open. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
I could see Phoenix getting there. I could see Memphis getting there. I could see Denver getting there. There's so many teams in the West where you could say they're going to make it. I mean, don't forget about the Clippers with Kawhi and PG and possibly Russell Westbrook.
Ooh,
I mean, I
yeah.
mean that whole dynamic there, because we already know PG and Russell can do some things. We've seen that
Hmm.
firsthand in OKC. But can they?
Yeah,
Can't I mean you add Kawhi to that mix?
I
I mean,
know that could be
I
good.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that could be a team that at least
The
could get you
West is looking
to
wide
the
open.
Western Conference Finals right now. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, with Golden State being healthy, they're a team that you have to watch out for as well. They're sleeping giants right now. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
come playoff time especially.
and just the other matchups as well. I mean, again, you have Kyrie and Luca with Dallas. They could sneak in there. I mean,
Yeah,
they only need a couple good games, and I could see them
good
beating
matchup.
Memphis. I could see them beating Memphis. Um,
Definitely.
something like that to get into the Western Conference Finals. Now, again, I'm not picking them to win the West, but I
Yeah,
think they could get into that finals game and upset, a team or two. Phoenix, obviously, you got to be worried about them with Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker. I mean, that whole four right there is enough to make a lot of
that's a
people
good
be like,
lineup
that's.
right there.
I mean, they're the second favorite right now to win it all, and I understand. I just don't know how they're going to play come playoff time. It always seems like Chris Paul craps
Mhm.
his pants. I mean, Kevin Durant is usually pretty consistent. I don't really worry about Kevin as much as I worry about Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Aiton. I think that
Yeah,
those three are more inconsistent than KD has been in the playoffs, in their careers at least. I don't.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to use any recency bias when I'm saying that. So I guess that's kind of where we're looking at as far as the NBA is concerned. Let's talk a little bit about NFL. We'll transition into this NFL talk. The big news right now is Lamar Jackson possibly going to Atlanta. This is the only thing we're going to talk about because it's really the only thing other than the Super Bowl that happened, and we already touched on that. So let's talk
Is his
about this.
contract up?
So
His contract is up, and
the contract is not up, but people think that he is wanting to be traded, and so right now, it looks like the most likely destination for Lamar Jackson is Atlanta. And now we talked about this earlier this week, Cole, about Stetson Bennett possibly being a quarterback that Baltimore picks up
mm,
because of Todd Monken, Georgia's offensive coordinator, transitioning to going to be the Ravens' offensive coordinator.
yeah,
And how he used Stetson and how well Stetson played in that system. And, we and you were joking, like, yeah, he's going to hold kicks all season and he's going to be their practice squad quarterback, which is probably true. I mean, this is not somebody you see coming off the draft board in the first 3 or 4 rounds, at least not in any mock drafts I've seen. Um, and I think, so you're going to get a good value on him. But if Lamar Jackson leaves, um,
yeah.
is he better than
Huntley,
Huntley?
Huntley, is he better than Huntley? I don't know. I think they'll probably put Huntley over him.
I would think so. Um, I would think so as well. But I think that if Huntley doesn't play well, and if Jackson's
Yeah,
not on the team anymore, you could see Stetson maybe getting some snaps. I mean, you'll see him in preseason. You'll see Stetson getting some
as
snaps
much
in
as I don't want to
preseason.
hear this.
Um, but the thing is this is all hypothetical because what if someone else other than the Ravens drafts Stetson Bennett? So I mean, this is kind of we're kind of banking
Yeah,
on the Ravens doing the obvious thing here, but anything about NFL GMs, they don't like to do the obvious thing 9 times out of 10. Um, I I mean, but my bigger question is, do you think Lamar Jackson will be on the move before next season, and is Atlanta a good fit for him?
I don't know. Atlanta's they had Mariota, and they still are ass. And I think him and Lamar kind of have similar playing styles. They're pretty mobile. They got a good arm, but they're more rollout type of guys. So I don't know. I think Atlanta just needs a whole new team. Not a whole new team, but they're not looking like they used to be at all with Matt Ryan and Julio. So I think they definitely need a few more pieces, and I think Lamar would make them better. But uh, I don't think that's a spot Lamar would want to end up at. I think he likes Baltimore more than he would rather go to the Falcons.
Yeah. So I mean, this is coming from Sports Illustrated, so take this kind of for what it's worth. But former
Yeah,
unanimous MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson could find himself leaving the Baltimore Ravens and strutting new feathers with the Atlanta Falcons because, quote unquote, it just feels right, says NFL analysts. Now, um, this is one of
does
those.
it feel right because he's a black guy going to Atlanta? I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. So So we can discount how Lamar feels about the Ravens GM. Eric DaCosta has handled this. Eric DaCosta negotiated like he is Nino Brown from the Jack City, saying it's not personal, it's just business. Lamar Jackson is clearly taking this personal if you look at it on his social media tweets. Um, blah. Let's see. Last off season, the Falcons came up just shy of landing quarterback Deshaun Watson. That could foreshadow potential to run in the Jackson sweepstakes in the offseason. Should Atlanta acquire Jackson, he would look to improve an offense that ranked 31st out of 32 teams in passing yards per game. Expect the Falcons to do anything possible this offseason to improve an offense that has invested top 10 picks in consecutive drafts on young wide receiving threats Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Because that is a thing. So I mean, you're gonna have wide receivers you can throw to if you're Lamar Jackson.
Lamar is not gonna like that offense. Drake London is your guy with an average tight end with what's his name, Kyle Pitts. Like, I don't think he'd
Kyle
much rather.
Pitts kind of popped off though.
Yeah, Mark
But
Andrews is
you have to
better.
understand though. You had Marcus Mariota throwing to you. You didn't have Lamar Jackson throwing to you. So that also reflects your receiving yards and your stats, because if a quarterback's getting sacked or if a quarterback is throwing the ball errantly, which I love Mariota to death as an Oregon Ducks fan. I love him to death. He's just not an NFL quarterback. He's a good solid backup to have, and that's exactly how Atlanta used him last season. As kind of a gap. They were rebuilding. They knew it was not going to be pretty. They put him in there, and he still has a couple games that were really good, but he's not a consistent quarterback enough. I've already latched my Oregon Ducks allegiance to Justin Herbert. I think that Kellen Moore going there and helping that offense opens a lot of things up for Justin, but that's kind of off the beaten path here. In this past offseason, Lamar has turned down a contract extension from Baltimore that would have guaranteed him around $133 million, with the potential to surpass $250 million if he, completes all the milestones in that contract. So he's turned down a lot of money. I don't think he wants to be in Baltimore, Cole. I really don't think he wants to. Now, whether or not he goes to Atlanta, that's one thing or another. Now, Bobby was telling me last night, and if anybody knows, Bobby is kind of a Chiefs fan that works with us. He was saying that if Lamar Jackson, if the Ravens or if the Falcons pick up DeAndre Hopkins from the Cardinals, that he would possibly go down there to Atlanta for sure. Now
I could see that. I could see that being more likely. Yeah.
I like DeAndre Hopkins. I do think he's on the decline as well, though. I don't think he really gives you that deep threat that he gave during his time in in Houston. But I mean, I think that could convince him to go down there to Atlanta even more. But I like Drake London a lot. I like Kyle Pitts a lot. And if they draft another wide receiver this year in the first round, I could see that even kind of opening the door a little bit for Lamar to think about going down there to Atlanta. Because the thing about Atlanta, and why it is Atlanta we're talking about, is they've got the cap space. They've got the money to compete with Baltimore and all the other teams that could use Lamar Jackson. They ain't got no money. They ain't got enough money to pay a unanimous MVP, and only the second unanimous MVP that there's ever been in the NFL. I think that's why you're not hearing teams like the Jets being thrown out there, or teams like the Panthers being thrown out there, because they just don't have the kind of capital to give Lamar Jackson, but Atlanta does. And so I think it is going to come down to either Lamar demands more money from Baltimore and they pay up, and they might have to get rid of some key pieces, and Baltimore ends up being just a middle of the pack team again, or they ship him off to Atlanta. They get him off the books in Baltimore, and they go crazy picking up some of these other guys that are going to fall off some of these Super Bowl teams and some of these playoff teams where they're not going to be able to renew their contracts and pay them the money they need. And you could see Baltimore kind of rebounding in that fashion. And this cut, and in my opinion, this could open the door for Brock Purdy to go to Baltimore. Now, yeah, I know that's a bold statement, but think about this. If Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy and Trey Lance is healthy, and Brock Purdy is not the guy, and you get rid of Lamar Jackson, who can you pick up on the cheap that you can build around? It's Brock Purdy. Now, if it's not Brock Purdy, do they pick up Trey Lance? Do they extend an arm out to Jimmy G himself? Now, because the thing is the 49ers have too many quarterbacks. They got too many decent quarterbacks for all those three guys to still be there next offseason. So you have to think about that as
Yeah, no.
well. There could, and those are the three teams I see shuffling players right now. Atlanta's got cap space. They're going to pick up somebody. People have been throwing Baker Mayfield's name out there as well for Baltimore or Atlanta. Atlanta could pick up
Wow.
Baker and bring Baker from LA down there because we knew that LA might have been just a pit stop for him as well, just like Carolina was. Um,
Hmm.
because I think he's established himself as more backup material than starter material. Granted, I do still blame the lack of players around him for kind of his demise in the NFL in general. He did take Cleveland to the playoffs. He did do that stuff, but I think that those players they picked up, those big names in Cleveland, they didn't help him out. They didn't end up panning out. Like OBJ
At
didn't pan
all.
out. I mean, like that,
Jarvis
like
Landry,
yeah, didn't
OBJ,
pan out. Didn't pan out.
the defense was stacked.
Yeah,
Like,
didn't pan out. And so I think that people hold that against Baker Mayfield like that was his fucking fault. I really don't think it is. And
no.
obviously Carolina was a dumpster fire, so that wasn't going to help your image as far as like is this a viable quarterback? And then, he
That
goes
was
and
a
wins a last
very
second game against the Raiders who Derek Carr might be on the move. So do you throw Carr in there as well? Carr could go to Baltimore. Carr could go to Atlanta. I mean,
yeah.
I mean these are three quarterbacks or four quarterbacks I should say that could be on the move if not more. I mean, who do you think uh, what do you think about this? I mean, do you think Jimmy G could be on the move, or do you think Brock Purdy goes and tries to start somewhere like Atlanta or Baltimore? Do you think that Baker Mayfield could be on the move to any of those teams? If Lamar Jackson leaves Baltimore, this opens that door for all this stuff to go. Now, Atlanta's still on the table. Atlanta could still pick up Brock Purdy or Baker Mayfield or Trey
Hmm.
Lance or Jimmy G. They're looking for a quarterback. People know that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if you add Lamar Jackson into the equation here, I think it becomes a little more interesting because you got a third team in here where you could really see some guys be shuffled around here.
I think LA keeps Baker. I think they like him as that backup as soon as Stafford returns. I definitely don't think that the 49ers are going to have all those three guys. Or you're
Yeah,
definitely not going to see
yeah.
you're not going to see Purdy, Lance, and Jimmy G all there. I think they keep Lance and Purdy, not Purdy. I think they keep Lance and Jimmy G on the roster. But yeah, I could definitely see a team grabbing Purdy and making him either their backup or starting guy, depending on what their quarterback situation is looking like. So I think we'll see Brock Purdy on the move. I don't know. I think I see Baltimore finding some money down the back alley there in Baltimore for Lamar because I just think they like Baltimore. Everyone knows Baltimore. They think of Lamar, and they're just a few pieces away from being a good team. They have a good defense already. I mean, not the best, but their
Good
defense is
enough.
pretty
Yeah.
solid, and uh, they just need a few more offensive pieces, and we could be talking about how they could be in the championship game as well. So, I mean, Lamar Jackson is definitely one of the best quarterbacks. So, I just don't see Baltimore letting him go that easily. But yeah, you were saying they don't have the money for him, and all these other teams do. But man, they're gonna figure something out for that guy because I don't see Baltimore letting him go.
Yeah, no, Baltimore's got the money. He just turned it down.
Yeah,
And I think that
yeah.
speaks more about I don't think Lamar wants to be there. Like
Hmm.
even if they find money, Cole, I don't think he's going to want to stay.
Wants to stay in Baltimore. Okay.
I think he wants to leave Baltimore. I think that's kind of foregone. I think Lamar Jackson's out of Baltimore. I don't care
I
if
just I don't see Atlanta being a better fit though. That's
no.
my thing. Even though they have like I don't think he's gonna like it there either.
But okay, think about this though. So if you're willing to take less money, right, to be somewhere where you think you can win more games, right?
Hmm.
Here are the other two teams you could go to if you're Lamar Jackson: the Raiders or the Seahawks. Because the Seahawks aren't going to try to keep Geno Smith on a big deal. They could use a
Yeah,
quarterback. And that's why I think that could also be a destination for Brock Purdy. Also, you
yeah,
could look at Seattle as being a destination for him as well. You could see
yeah.
Vegas maybe picking up Brock Purdy. I mean, because if Derek Carr is on the move, does Carr go to Seattle? Does Carr find his way to Atlanta? Where does Derek Carr fucking go? There are questions
Somebody's
now.
head coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mention that Tampa Bay is looking for a quarterback too? Now that Tom Brady is retired, I
Ooh,
mean, does Lamar go to Tampa Bay? I mean,
I like Lamar in Tampa a lot. Actually, I think that'd be a great fit for Lamar.
yeah.
You got Mike Evans. You got a good tight end. You got Chris Godwin. You got oh wow, that'd be a good fit. And he would. I think he would like it in Tampa as well. Yeah, Lamar Jackson to Tampa. Lamar, it's official. Stamp it. Lamar Jackson to Tampa.
Well, and he gives you a run game, which is what Tampa Bay didn't have all season.
Yeah,
I
and
think
you
it,
have Leonard Fournette in the backfield. Like, ooh,
yeah. So, but what you
ooh,
would need is if that is going to happen, right? Lamar needs to see that you're trying to improve that run game. You have to draft offensive linemen. If you are
yeah.
Tampa Bay, you have to go O line in the first round.
Who's Tampa trading them though?
Um,
Because they're not letting Lamar go for nobody.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If you're turning down money, you're releasing yourself. The reason that
Oh, okay.
it's time for his contract extension. He doesn't want
That's
to
fair.
extend. So this he's kind of a free agent, but he's not, right? Because they were like, oh, he's going to sign the extension. That was like a for sure thing 2 years ago, and now because of what's
Mm,
happened this last season, and the things that the GM has said, and the fact his uncle's his agent, all this weird
yeah,
stuff where his mom's also inserted into it. It's fucking weird. Um, I think he is taking it personally, and I think that's a big piece of this. Is he is
yeah.
I think he's just wanting out of Baltimore, and I think that, like I said, if he's willing to take a pay cut, which that
Tampa
he
Bay.
he would need to do in order to get to Tampa Bay or Seattle or Vegas, if he decides to go any of those routes, he's gonna have to take less money. Only Atlanta can really offer him the kind of money that's similar, and that's why a lot of people think that if he wants to be
To be
paid
in
like he
Atlanta.
feels like he should be paid, that's where he will go. But like you said, if he goes to Tampa Bay, which I also feel like could be a decent fit, you have to draft offensive linemen that specialize in run
Yeah.
game. Because you weren't getting any push up front and you were forcing Tom Brady to throw every down. And if you could get some sort of option attack going with him, and even using Leonard Fournette as like a second or third down kind of back to get those 3 or 4 yards, he can do that. He's not out of his
Yeah.
prime yet. Now the other thing is Dallas getting rid of Tony Pollard. What if Tony Pollard goes to Tampa Bay and teams up with
Ooh.
Lamar Jackson down there, and you lose Leonard Fournette? Leonard Fournette is gone. Leonard Fournette's out of the picture. You have to release him. You sign Tony Pollard, who's a speed guy, and you just run the option. I mean, it's an
That would be
option.
nice.
It would be pretty, right? It would be something. It would be something that you could say, well, could they compete with Kansas City? Yes. Could they compete with the
Oh yeah.
Bills? Yes. I mean, this is
Eagles, yes.
yes. I mean, this is
That
a team
that
that,
might be a championship game for sure.
yeah. I mean, if he does that, this puts Tampa Bay back on the map as a Super Bowl contender tenfold. I am not
Yeah.
going to deny that for a second. And if you have to let go of Fournette, even if you have to let go of Cameron Brate, the tight end, if you have to let go of him and maybe try to bring Mark Andrews with you, because the
Woo.
because the thing is this is if Baltimore wants um, him to possibly stay and offer more money, they're gonna have to let go of Mark Andrews. If they want to
Yeah.
offer more money, Mark Andrews is going to be on the move. And if Mark Andrews is on the move, any team is a possibility because he improves any team he goes to. I think the
Yeah.
doors will be wide open for Mark Andrews. So I don't think anybody would be hesitant on getting him on an NFL roster. He's not washed at all. He's a great tight end.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I think that he doesn't come with any headaches. So that also is he's a locker room guy. Like, you have to know that with Lamar, it's now becoming a headache
Yeah.
situation, right? You're acting like a prima donna right now. Not that quarterbacks aren't in general, but when you get your
Yeah.
family involved in these business decisions, and they are your agents and they are your counsel, and you don't have a professional agent,
Hmm.
running your life, this turns into something that can be very ugly.
Right.
And we've seen this happen in the past, with players that use family members as kind of their vehicles. You can talk about Lamar Ball and his sons. I mean,
Yeah.
he eventually passed the torch on to professionals, but when he wasn't, that was a headache for teams.
Yeah.
People didn't want Lonzo. People didn't want Leangelo. People didn't want they
And
they
it
were like,
went the
I
whole
don't.
ball brother package.
Yeah, yeah, it was a mess. That's the only really example I can give that I can think of off the top of my head. But we know that when you get family involved in business, it can get messy. And I think that's kind of where you're at. And I think if you are an organization, you have to realize you're not only taking on Lamar, you're taking on Lamar's family, and you got to keep them happy.
Yeah.
Because if they're not happy, then that trickles down to Lamar, and Lamar stops giving a shit, and then the players know he's not giving a shit, and that just fucks up the whole team morale. So
Right.
I think that it's a very delicate situation. But I think that other teams and other GMs are also looking at it from that angle of he's a great player, but do we want that headache in the locker room? And for a team like
Yeah.
Atlanta, I think they're in desperation mode because the last couple seasons have been so fucking bad. I don't think they give a shit. And they've got the money. They're like, we can pay you all the money in the world,
Mhm.
and you can be a cancer if you want to, but we really need those extra 4 or 5 wins, and we need to make a
Right.
wild card game. It's definitely more that angle for Atlanta than I think other teams that could be an option. Like, does Tampa Bay want him there? Because obviously, like you said, that would be a great fit for him. Even if they get rid of Fournette and if they get Tony Pollard to come in, that could be something. Because there's going to be a lot of decent names on the move this offseason. But obviously, all
Yeah.
eyes are going to be on Lamar and what he does. Um, but
Atlanta just wants another Michael Vick. That's all.
And that's fine. He could be that guy. I mean, I don't mind him trying to be that guy, but let's remind you that Michael Vick didn't do a lot for Atlanta as far as playoff wins. I think they got him to one Super Bowl, I think, and they lost. I
Yeah.
think that's the case. I mean, they might have gotten to the playoffs a couple of years more than that, but they never really did anything. And I think that was more of the players around Michael Vick than it was his fault. But I mean, I don't think that they want a repeat of that. And I think if they can keep Kyle Pitts and Drake London there and add maybe one more piece, like a DeAndre Hopkins, I think you do have that enticing offensive factor for him to make that jump down there to Atlanta. Um,
Right.
uh, Another player that could be on the move, Aaron Rodgers. We still don't know what he's gonna do.
I thought he was retiring.
I mean, Lamar hasn't shown any interest to going to Green Bay, but are they committed to Jordan Love, or do you bring Brock Purdy into Green Bay? I'm just saying, there's lots of stuff going on here, Cole. I don't know,
A
but
lot of
someone's
possibilities.
one domino has to fall first. I think that's Lamar or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
If the Aaron Rodgers domino falls, Derek Carr definitely on the move because Aaron Rodgers is going to Vegas to team back up with Devontae Smith. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a foregone conclusion. If he goes anywhere, that's probably where he goes. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes down to Tampa
Mm.
Bay, are they are
I
they
can see
are they
that.
back in the Super Bowl conversation? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I think they would be. But again, Aaron Rodgers needs a run game, kind of like Tom Brady needed a run game. Of course, Aaron Rodgers 5 years younger than Tom Brady, and a little more mobile, I would think, than Tom Brady.
Right.
But I think he's still going to want a run game to take off of the fact that he doesn't want to throw 35 times a game.
Mm.
And they couldn't offer that last season, so I think you're still going to have to look for offensive linemen. I mean, anything else to add here? I mean, I think that pretty much covers everybody that could possibly be on the move, big name wise.
No, definitely. Just waiting on that domino to fall, and then I think everything else will fall in place after that.
Yeah, I think we'll know a lot more here in the next coming weeks. This thing seems like it could be dropping pretty soon. But that's kind of a Lamar Jackson situation and kind of how it affects the grand scheme of the NFL right now, and with all these different pieces on the move, where he fits best. We both feel like would probably be Tampa Bay if he wants to take a pay cut. If they want to take a pay cut,
Mm.
we know where he's going, and it's Atlanta. But
Yeah.
what will they add to that roster to entice um, at least NFL analysts and fans alike to think that Atlanta might be back into the Super Bowl conversation like they were in
Mm.
2016? So lots to talk about. Lots to talk about with that. We'll keep our tabs on that, and we might go a little bit more in depth once one of those dominoes falls. But so far, it's been quiet, and that's kind of been the way it is. So let's close it out here and get to our locks of the week here. So obviously we have a bunch of choices here. Well, let's go back here. Let's go back to our last two sportsbook picks here. So the XFL is getting started tomorrow, right? So XFL is getting
Mm.
started. We got two games tomorrow, and then we got two games on Sunday. So Sunday, professional football is back. It'll be fun to watch this league again. I think it's a better product than the USFL. Of course, the USFL also gonna be on your screens uh, pretty soon. I think they start Sunday as well. I don't know if their games are as televised or anything, but I'm more interested in the XFL anyways. Um,
Mm.
so let's go ahead. Vipers versus Renegades at 2 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. The Renegades and Bob Stoops are 3.5 point favorites over the Vipers. Vegas, obviously, they've got Tyler Huntley on that roster. Uh, they've got a good offense. Who you picking?
Give me the Renegades with Bob Stoops.
You
I'm
got it.
excited to see that.
Renegades -3.5. All right, yeah, I think I'm gonna go Renegades too. I think Renegades. Bob Stoops, he's back in the coaching scene. I think that he's gonna have fun with this. I think that a lot
Definitely.
of players and coaches they do view this as a job, but they also view it as fun because there's not really a lot of pressure to do well because this is more for
Right.
NFL fans that don't have anything to do than it is for just purebred XFL fans, if that's even a fucking thing. Um, let's go on to the second game. Orlando Guardians versus Houston Roughnecks. The Roughnecks, 3.5 point favorites, so both Texas teams are favored this weekend. Who you got?
Uh, I'm gonna go with the whoever's favored, just because I'm not too familiar on the teams
So
yet.
let
I don't
so
really
so
know
let me let
who's
me let me let me
gonna
just
be good.
let
So
me give you a little rundown here, right? Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell you the starting lineups as far as um, the offense goes here, and give you any names that kind of ring a bell here. Um, so let's go ahead and start with the Orlando Guardians, right? Right now, I'm pulled up here.
I'm not sure who is on that team.
All league rosters can be found here. Clicking here. All right, so here are the team rosters. Um, so for the Renegades, this is Bob Stoops' team. Uh, so right now, at let's see, quarterback for them, you got Drew Plitt as a quarterback for them. Um, also got college wise, you got a couple of guys from Iowa, Michigan State, Washington State, Texas A&M. Keith Ford, former OU and Texas A&M running back, is your running back for the Renegades.
Hey,
Um, you have um, Jordan Smallwood, another former OU Sooner wide receiver,
okay.
as a wide receiver for the Renegades as well. Um, and they tried to keep most of these players more kind of local. There's some Oregon guys on here and some BYU guys, but most of these guys are. I mean, I don't see a lot of small colleges. There's a couple Fordhams on here. There's a couple Miami of Ohio's on here, but there's still some pretty good D1 talent on this Renegades team. So I feel comfortable with both of us picking the Renegades in that first game. Um,
Yeah, give me the Renegades for sure. I like the whole
um,
OU team and all that.
so here's the Roughnecks, the Houston Roughnecks, who is playing Orlando. They've got, let's see, who's their quarterback? Caleb Ellaby from Western Michigan is their quarterback. Their other quarterback is Cole McDonald from Hawaii. Those are their two
Yeah.
quarterbacks for the Roughnecks. I see anybody we might recognize on here. Um, some Western Michigan guy, Texas San Antonio, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, James Madison. Another Hawaii guy on here. Western Carolina, Marshall, Delaware State, and Delaware Valley. So some kind of smaller guys on the Roughnecks. They've also got Brandon Silvers. That's going to be their starting quarterback that he played at Troy. Um, those are the Roughnecks for you. The Guardians, they've got at quarterback DeAndre Francois, who is a former uh, Hampton Tiger and Florida State Seminole. Um,
Interesting.
Charleston Rambo, the former OU wide receiver that went to Miami, he's on there. Um, got else. Quentin Dormaday is another quarterback. He went to Central Michigan. Um, so I mean, really, I mean, I kind of like the Guardians here.
Honestly, that one sounds better to me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Orlando plus 3.5 there. They
Yeah.
just I think that they've got the better skill guys. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
so those are going to be our two XFL picks, and we'll kind of watch those games a little bit off and on. At least look at the highlights, and we'll kind of see how this product is looking tomorrow. Um, so big Saturday and Sunday football slate. So that's good for anybody who's wanting to watch some pads pop over the weekend. So let's get into our locks of the week. We got 3 choices for locks of the week. Do you want to do 2 All-Stars and 1 XFL pick, or do you want to do all All-Stars or 2 XFLs and an All-Star?
Let's do two All Star, one
Okay.
XF, or yeah.
So which one do you want? You want your all-star team, your dunk contest, or your three-point contest? Which two do you want?
Ooh, give me the 3-point contest. I think Buddy Hill is going to win it this year.
Okay, healed.
And then give me Team LeBron,
Okay.
and then I'll take my Renegades out in Dallas.
So Team LeBron and Renegades. Half. Now Team LeBron, they were -3, I think, as far as the team, because we took the over/under in that. So I'll let you do the team though. That's fine. Because I think the spread was only 3. So Team LeBron -3 or +3. Sorry, no, that's right, -3. Crap, I'm flailing right now. Um, let me just make sure that's right. NBA All-Star Weekend. Click. Sure here. Does look like, yeah, Team LeBron -3. Yep, Team LeBron
Okay.
-3. That is going to be yours. Mine is going to be, I'm going to go with the under 325.5 on the points for the All-Star game total. I'm going to go with Renegades minus the 3.5. And I'm going to go with Tyler Hero 3-point contest
Ooh,
at +800. So
I think old Hero's going to get it done, huh?
I don't like him, but I think that, like you said, I think one of the least likely guys to win it'll probably win it, just because that's kind of the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so another good episode. We thought we'd run a little long. We didn't. We're at 1:25, not too bad. I think we covered a lot. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Keep your stick on the ice.
You got it, brother. All right, we'll see you for episode 23 next week. Have a good weekend and happy
Yes,
XFL
sir.
kickoff to everybody.